Hey, good morning, everyone. Sorry, dealing with a little bit of allergies this morning and some congestion. But I wanted to come back and touch base on the state of the market, where we're at. So we can see we have been moving up over the last 24 hours. And also just go ahead and touch base back on Jasmy Coin. It seems like a lot of people want updates on that. So I'll continue to give daily updates on Jasmy Coin. Again, I'm also going to do a video on VeChain and see where we're at there in the market, as well as Cardano. And I think I'm also going to touch on Chainlink. So let's go ahead and get started and see what's happening in the market today. Good coffee. So I'm going to get started here on Jasmy on Coinbase. The main reason why I like to look at this is just to see the trading activity. I can see the volume is starting to pick up a little bit. We have 54% buyers, which again, and 46% sellers. So there's definitely more buyers than sellers. We've seen the high, I'm pretty sure somewhere around like 80%, which is really good. And it looks like people are typically holding. I would expect to see a lot more holding on Binance, where they're doing these savings for Jasmy to accumulate more Jasmy over time. So let's go ahead and take a dive into coin market cap, which is something that I typically like to take a look at just to see if we're having more of a green day or more of a red day. So how I usually gauge that is if I see more than 10 coins in the green, then I can see our projects in the green, then I can see that we are having a green day. Now, this is a really good day. Bitcoin is up 5%, which is good for Bitcoin. Typically, we see 1 to 2% movement and people lose their minds. So 5% is pretty good. And then we start to see some of the top altcoins starting to trend up and do better. Ethereum, Binance, Cardano up 11%, Luna up 11%, Polkadot 12%, Avalanche 12%. So some of these top cryptos that we see are doing very, very well. Now, don't be fooled if you are in a lower cap project. The money flow in the market tends to go from the bottom down. So it is very much expected that we see more people getting into the higher market caps first before we see them start to cascade down into the lower market caps. Now, smart money is always accumulating. So even if it's a smaller market cap, they will be accumulating more and more over time. And biggest reason for that is they want to keep the price low until they've accumulated as much as possible. So they're not going to really put in a lot of large buy orders in at a particular time, as then it would raise the price. So let's go ahead and take a look at the chart. Again, this is not going to be a particularly long video, just a quick video to see what we're doing here in Jasmy. And I'm actually going to start off here with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has been going up over the last 24 hours. But we're still kind of hitting this resistance of, we had somewhat of a falling wedge on the larger time frame that kind of broke out here. So we didn't see the full play out of the wedge. And it broke out and it hit this top around almost realistically, I think Bitcoin went to about 69,000. Then we double topped and we started to come back down. Now we saw a break back into the pattern and we had a lot of confident buyers buy back up. And now we're moving, and then we saw another move down. Now we're still kind of babysitting this death cross to see if that's going to happen. But as I mentioned in video earlier this week, death crosses are kind of indicative of moves that have already happened. So a lot of the move has already happened and we're starting to trend up. So what we really want to see is first Bitcoin break back out of above this trend line, hit above this 21 moving average, and then as we can see the convergence of the 50 and the 21 with the 50 crossing below, which forms the death cross. We want to see a break above that, and started to see it move above 45, 50,000, realistically 53, And I personally want to see it move above 55 so we can get above all these moving averages on the daily and start to have a new leg up. So again, this is just on the daily. We can see on the MACD, we are starting to see this curve up, which again, the MACD is also a lagging indicator. So by the time we see this cross, the move will have already happened. And we got a nice bounce off the 28, 29 RSI, which if you go back historically, we tend to get a bounce around this area as we get into the oversold. Just quickly on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, we moved back above the 21 and the 50, and we kind of hit some resistance here. But assuming on the 4-hour, and moves do more from smaller time frames to larger time frames, so keep that in mind. As long as we can get back above 46 here, 46.9, around 47,000, we can really start to see Bitcoin move up further. Now, by the time, if you look at the RSI and the MACD, but if we do get up that high, say today or the next couple of days, you'll probably see some sort of pullback, retest this support, and then move forward. We need these indicators to kind of cool off for traders, bots, things like that in order to continue to move forward. So it's very possible that we come back, come down, we start to see some sideways movement before we continue to push up. So let's go ahead and get into Jasmy, what everyone's here for. And before we really dig into this, I would like just to ask everyone to go ahead and like or subscribe if you're interested in the content that I'm sharing, and leave a comment if there's anything else that you want me to cover. Definitely will be more than willing to go over that. So I'm actually going to start on the 4-hour chart for Jasmy so we can see kind of some of the progress we've actually made. So we're still in this downtrend. As you can see, we've had this downward sloping channel here, and we never really actually broke out of it. What we did was we moved sideways. We can't really call it a breakout unless we have some significant volume to the upside. So we were in this pattern, and again, we just kind of broke out of it sideways. Now the good news is we are back above the 21 moving average, but we're finding some resistance at this 50 candle moving average. Now, assuming if we can break out of that, we have our next resistance somewhere around 8 cents, where we're running into this 200-day moving average, somewhere around, or 200 candle moving average for the 4-hour, somewhere around 8 cents. So we definitely want to make sure that we can get above that. And if I was to trade this, again, not financial advice, but personally for me, if I was to trade this, I would wait until we moved above this, maybe come back to retest this 200 before we move up above and blast off, right? And realistically, even with that, 10 cents is going to be a resistance level. It's going to be a big psychological resistance level. Then we really need to get above this, I'd say above this 11 cents, and then above 16 cents before we can really start to see big moves and big inflows into the market. Now we can also look at the downside, because we should also always take that into consideration. It's very possible that if we don't continue to either move up or sideways for a little bit, that we come back down and retest this 6 cents. Now 7 cents has been a huge support as of late. You can see we've come down, we touched this area a number of times. We've only broke down below it once, and then we had a huge recovery. So I would expect if we came back down and hit 6 cents that we would only see a large recovery and not necessarily break below it. And I would personally be buying more. This is a great time for accumulation if we do hit this mark. Now I do personally just have a certain amount that I do want to put in, but I typically dollar cost average, and dollar cost averaging is probably one of the best ways to get into a project because the market does dictate a lot. So you could get into a project that you're really bullish on, but the market falls, and then you put all this money into it, and now you don't have any more to accumulate more. So always keep that in mind. Think about dollar cost averaging into projects. Now let's go ahead and just take one good look at the daily. So on the daily chart, we're actually seeing something a little bit different. We're starting to see this MACD. It's not necessarily crossing above or going back down below. It's just kind of running in a parallel fashion, which means that there's some indecision. Not quite sure what's going to happen here. But if we continue to break above, then we'll see this go up and up and up. And currently, we have this 21 moving average kind of acting as a resistance. So if we can get above that, then our next resistance is going to be somewhere around this 50. And assuming we can get above that, then again, we hit those same marks that I was mentioning before. But right now, it's just a waiting game and being patient. If there's anything I've learned being in the market for about 5 years now, patience is key. You need to wait, hold, stand your ground. Don't necessarily sell because there's a lot of panic. Just always make sure that you're not putting everything into one project or even multiple projects. It's always good to have at least part of your portfolio in cash or that's liquid. That way, if the market does drop, you can accumulate more. So with that being said, everyone, have a good rest of your day. And if you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe and comment below if there's anything else that you would like me to cover. So thank you very much. Everyone have a good day.